Earthlings. How are you? Welcome to First Contact Radio, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We are here live, firstcontactradio.com. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope you are ready for the weekend. The holiday season is upon us. Truly, truly, truly it is. All right, let's jump into our space weather for today. Solar wind, 390.6 kilometers per second. Our planetary K-index is dropped down from a 1 to a 0, and the 24-hour max is up to a 2. And you can see we have very low chance of M-class flares and very, very low chance of X-class flares. I noticed that there was a lot of information going around about a huge geomagnetic storm that was going to be taking place today. However, the analysis here doesn't seem to indicate anything of that nature. It shows very low probability of things going on. So, and then tonight we do have the solar eclipse, or today the solar eclipse. Earlier today, the new moon passed in front of the sun, slightly off-center, producing a partial solar eclipse visible from Antarctica, Tasmania, and parts of South Africa and New Zealand. So, alright, so it went by. If you hadn't had a chance to see, you can go online. There's plenty of places where you can get a chance to see what it looks like. And there you go. That's our space weather for today. Now, the first bit of information we're going to give you is about 9/11. Yesterday, played a piece for you that in Malaysia they had a tribunal, and according to the tribunal, George Bush and Tony Blair were convicted of crimes against humanity as war criminals, and there's going to be further action that's going to be taken to try to make this stick, and brought these two gentlemen, amongst others, brought to justice. Now, one of the things that we know of with George Bush that he was involved with was 9/11. He was certainly the commander-in-chief at that point in time, and evidence that has presented itself since 9/11 occurred does indicate that he knew more about what was going on than he claimed to know. So what I'm going to play for you is part 1 today. And so it's loose change. This is the final cut. I'm just going to play for you part 1, and you're going to have to follow the links on your own to watch the whole thing. But if you haven't seen Loose Change, you should watch it. It's one that's out there that is certainly the best of all of them, or one of the really good ones that's out there. It's been seen all around the world and been translated in multiple languages. So here's part 1. I'm just going to shut up now and you can watch this.
On September 11th, 2006, thousands from all over the world gathered in New York City, New York. They wore black shirts, reading Investigate 9/11, and held banners that read, "Ask questions, demand answers." This day marked the 5th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. Although the 9/11 Commission report had been published over 2 years prior, many Americans and citizens worldwide remained convinced that the truth was being withheld from the public. Why? Why was a growing percentage of the world population becoming increasingly skeptical of the events of September 11th? Was it a natural inclination towards believing the worst about the United States government? Or was it a legitimate concern that only grew more powerful with time? The 9/11 Truth Movement includes academics, engineers, physicists, firefighters, intelligence officials, and some of the very people whose lives have been shattered since September 11th. Were they all delirious?
You should not be here. No, you've got it all wrong. We're honoring the fallen heroes from 9/11.
As are we.
No, you're not. No, you are not.
I feel so uncomfortable.
I'm sorry.
That next year, I'm not coming here.
Or were they a concerned group of individuals taking the necessary steps to prevent the United States from slipping into its darkest era yet? Was September 11th a surprise attack on America by 19 Islamic terrorists? Or something else entirely?
George Bush has spent an uncomfortable day with his people trying to explain away why he failed to pass on warnings the White House had received before September the 11th that terrorists were planning to hijack American aircraft. What happened that day has cast a shadow over just about every area of American life. Now one of the country's best-known journalists has said that the American response to the so-called war on terrorism has created a climate of effective censorship in a land claiming to be the home of free speech.
There's never been an American war, small or large, in which access has been so limited as this one. The belief runs so strong in both the political and military leadership that those who control the images will control public opinion.
Does it suggest that there was somebody on the inside? He kind of compared it to the Godfather story, you know, where the gun was placed in the men's room.
There is also a possibility this could be some kind of inside job.
May it have been an inside job? Might these people have gotten help from the inside?
I was speculating about that along with others early this morning, but now there's a lot more evidence that suggests it's almost certainly the case.
It's an obscene comparison. I'm not sure like it, but you know, there was a time in South Africa that people would put flaming tires around people's necks if they dissented. The fear is that you'll be necklaced here. You'll have a flaming tire of lack of patriotism put around your neck. Now, it's that fear that keeps journalists from asking the toughest of the tough questions and to continue to bore in on the tough questions so often.
People ought to stay out of our business.
A country that hides something is a country that is afraid of getting caught.
And in particular, this Bush administration, who is as tight with Saudi Arabia as you can get.
I know the right question, but you know what? This is not exactly the right time to ask it.
The president's father used to stay with the bin Laden family when he would go to Saudi Arabia.
It starts with a feeling of patriotism within oneself.
In the past, though, the FBI has sometimes made problems worse by ignoring or denying them.
FBI management intentionally and repeatedly thwarted and obstructed my attempts to launch a more comprehensive investigation to identify and to neutralize terrorists.
They realize what an entertainment-oriented society ours has become.
To the families and victims of September 11th, on behalf of John Vincent, Barry Carmody, and myself, we're sorry.
And, you know, I want to say quietly, but as forcefully as I can, that I hope this doesn't go any further. It's gone too far already. I am appalled by it.
On September 13th, the United States government declares that it has overwhelming evidence that bin Laden is responsible for the attacks. The Taliban offers to hand over Osama bin Laden if the United States can provide evidence.
Our position in this regard is that if America have evidence and proofs, they should produce it, and we are ready for the trial of Osama bin Laden in the light of evidence.
Are you willing to hand Osama bin Laden to the United States or not?
No. Without evidence, no.
September 23rd, 2001.
States.
The Secretary of State said the administration would soon be able to document its case in public against the al-Qaeda network and Osama bin Laden.
And I think it'll be persuasive.
By the next day, the White House was already backpedaling.
But is there any plan to present public evidence so that, you know, the average citizen, not just Americans, but people all over the world, can understand the case against
Well, I
bin
think
Laden?
as Secretary Powell said, you know, there's hope to do that and to do so in a timely fashion over some course of time. But I think the American people also understand that there are going to be times when that information cannot immediately be forthcoming, and the American people seem to be accepting of that.
It seems as though you're asking everyone to trust you.
This information has yet to be provided to the public. Instead of taking credit, bin Laden denies involvement in the attacks 3 times. December 13th, the Department of Defense releases a videotape allegedly discovered in a house in Jalalabad, Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden describes the attacks along with Khaled al-Harbi. American mainstream media and even President Bush would portray this videotape as absolute proof of his guilt. International establishments question the authenticity of the tape. December 26th, 2001. A Taliban official claims that he has attended the funeral of Osama bin Laden. The next day, a video believed to be recorded on November 19th is broadcast, in which bin Laden praises the attack, but takes no responsibility. The next bin Laden video would not appear until October 29th, 2004, days before the presidential election. The video is described as the clearest claim of responsibility for 9/11. And when questioned why bin Laden's most wanted poster does not indict him for 9/11, the chief of investigative publicity for the FBI, Rex Toome, replied,
9/11 is not mentioned on bin Laden's most wanted poster is because the FBI has no hard evidence connecting Osama bin Laden to 9/11. Clearly, I couldn't really believe what I had just heard, so I repeated it, and he said, yes, that is correct. The FBI has no hard evidence connecting Osama bin Laden to 9/11.
What evidence do they have? 2 bags belonging to Muhammad Atta checked in at Portland Airport but failed to make Flight 11 at Boston, containing a 757 video tour and flight manual, an Arab-English dictionary, a handheld flight computer, a Quran, and his will. Why would Atta take his will onto a plane that would be destroyed in a fiery inferno? Marwan al-Sheikh's rental car, discovered at Logan Airport, containing an Arabic flight manual, an airport restricted area pass, and documents from Huffman Aviation. Nawaf al-Hazmi's rental car, discovered at Dulles Airport, containing Muhammad Atta's instructions, a check for a flight school in Phoenix, 4 drawings of a 757 cockpit, a knife, and maps of Washington and New York. Satam al-Sakami's passport, discovered below the Twin Towers.
Well, Dan, not far from here, a passerby found the passport of one of the hijackers.
How does a passport fly out of a man's pocket through a 400-mile-per-hour airplane crash, survive 9,000 gallons of jet fuel, and land intact on a sidewalk 1,000 feet below? Mahed Maked and Nawaf al-Hazmi's ID cards discovered in the wreckage at the Pentagon. An ID, Saeed al-Ghamdi's passport, Ahmed al-Nami's driver's license, passport photos.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. We've got 4 stories. Story number 1 comes to us. Well, it was a Thanksgiving Day UFO sighting. All right, this takes place. Let me play this. Our area undergoing desensitization. Our Thanksgiving dinner guests, the Council of 8, completely silent aircraft flying low through my suburbs. I see them a lot around here, the classic saucer shape. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, there we go. We got the object right here. disappears into the clouds. Now we've all seen these types before. It's the classic shape of the UFO that we've grown to know and love over all these years. Okay. Where did it go? Where did it go? Alright, there it is. Alright, so this was on Thanksgiving Day. Now we're going to move from there. We're going to go over to the Examiner. UFO above Minnesota farm look like flamethrowers. On Monday, 21st, 2011, a farmer in Vermilion, Minnesota spotted a UFO while plowing at his farm. The UFO was reportedly oddly shaped and moving back and forth in the night sky above the farmer's field. The farmer watched a strange sight for less than 1 minute before pulling out his iPhone and recording it. The resulting video was posted online by a 27-year-old who goes by the name of Guitar Shred. I guess that's Guitar Shred. It is unclear whether or not he is the same individual who recorded the video. The description of the UFO sighting that accompanies the video on YouTube is very detailed. The following is an excerpt from that description. I was plowing manure at my field in Vermilion, Minnesota on the 21st of November when I noticed what looked like fire above me. I put my tractor in neutral and watched the odd shape move kind of back and forth. It had lights that were, I don't know, maybe you could call it pulsating or something, but the lights on this thing looked like flamethrowers or something. It was wild. So after 30-40 seconds of watching, I grabbed my iPhone and took this video. Let's take a look at this video. See exactly what the farmer was looking at. Alright, that would be the object there. We don't see. Is that the flamethrower aspect he's referring to? Very interesting, huh? Okay. I'm guessing this part here is the craft itself. Alright, very interesting indeed. You can check that one out on our page, firstcontactradio.com, right hand side UFO news, to follow those links to wherever they might take you. Here's a story comes from KRQE. UFO sightings up in New Mexico. National group investigating reports. Kate Kim writes, Albuquerque. The Mutual UFO Network has been busier than usual this year. So far in New Mexico, the group has received reports of 40 different UFO sightings, 7 of them in the past month. By and large, most cases are explainable, said Dr. Donald Burleson, MUFON's New Mexico director. Sometimes we conclude that it was a conventional aircraft or balloon or meteor. It's that small percentage of cases that really keep us all interested. The nationwide organization is made up of volunteer scientists who investigate each questionable claim made. There have been many so-called UFO sightings. One driver snapped a picture of a UFO-shaped cloud on Albuquerque's horizon and found it strange because it stayed in place with no movement. A photographer near Las Cruces noticed a hinge in the clouds after uploading the picture. One onlooker saw bouncing lights multiple times in the night sky over Kirkland Air Force Base and was fearful, saying, "What if they know I'm watching and do something to me?" Scientist O'Brien Quarry submitted a video of a strange object in the sky near Socorro 3 years ago. You see the different manifestations, the disappearing and reappearing and moving about, says Quarry. A UFO is unidentified flying object, and I couldn't identify it. Is there any other life out there? Are there other intelligent beings? Burleson said he believes there could be. Quarry's video was one case MUFON investigators could not explain. There are a few cases that are really just unexplainable, says Burleson. That means we're just living with a mystery, and the mystery appeals to everyone. Appeals to, and yes, to anybody. Okay. Alright, that was our story. There's no video that I'm seeing here that goes along with this. And our last story for the day comes to us again from the UFO Examiner, Tracy Pierce. UFO spotted in St. Petersburg, composed of multiple orange glowing orbs. There is a video with this. Story goes on to say that according to information made available on Monday, November 21st, 2011, a recent UFO sighting that took place in St. Petersburg, Russia was captured on video. What that video shows is pretty strange, even by UFO standards. A collection of lights or bright orange glowing orbs floated in the night sky. The orbs were initially arranged to form a boomerang or chevron shape. After a few seconds, the lights seemed to rearrange themselves in a different pattern, like a cross or X shape. The 7 orbs slowly shifted and moved, but never drifted or flew away from each other, if not the same shape. Although the lights exhibited the warm orange glow common to Chinese lanterns, the overall size and shape of the UFO makes it unlikely that this common explanation is appropriate in this case. By watching the video on the left of this page, it is evident that the unidentified flying object cannot be explained by airplane or helicopter either. Alright, let's check this out here. Okay, here we go. Alright, as you're seeing this grouping of lights. Okay. Really no explanation given as what this is. I believe we saw one view of this the other day, so this is someone else who had sent one in. And it's interesting, we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4. Very interesting shaped object here. And doesn't look like any sort of craft that we are aware of being used in any way. So it could be a secret craft, could be a ship from another world. The bottom line, it is unidentified, and that's why it is a UFO. Alright, that's our UFO news for today, and we jump to a song. I will be back with more news and information. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth. People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of 9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Alrighty. It is time to demand the truth each and every day, my friends. We want to know the truth, and that's what's going on in the world these days. People want to know the truth. Well, there's a gentleman running for election. He is telling the truth. And because he is, he's got the mainstream media running scared because they don't want to know the truth. More specifically, they don't want you to know the truth. They prefer that you remain ignorant of what's really going out there in the world because, well, that blows their whole perception, the show they're trying to portray for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for you highlights from Ron Paul's CNN national security debate. Now, you don't always hear all of these everywhere, as I say, but you're going to hear them now. You're going to get the full 15 minutes worth right here. So let me adjust this so you can get the best view possible. Alright, here we go.
Ron Paul, a leading anti-war voice in Congress.
We should only go to the war when the people in this country declare the war.
Texas Congressman Ron Paul.
I'm Ron Paul, a congressman from Texas. I am pleased to be here to debate because this is a very important debate, but I am convinced that needless and unnecessary wars are a great detriment. They undermine our prosperity and our liberties. They add to our deficits and they consume our welfare. We should take a careful look at our foreign policy.
Our leadoff question is from the Honorable Ed Meese, the former Attorney General of the United States, who's representing the Heritage Foundation.
At least 42 terrorist attacks aimed at the United States have been thwarted since 9/11. Tools like the Patriot Act have been instrumental in finding and stopping terrorists. Shouldn't we have a long-range extension of the investigative powers contained in that act so that our law enforcement officers can have the tools that they need?
Congressman Paul, I suspect you disagree.
I do.
Tell us why.
I think the Patriot Act is unpatriotic because it undermines our liberty. I'm concerned, as everybody is, about the terrorist attack. Timothy McVeigh was a vicious terrorist. He was arrested. Terrorism still on the books, internationally and nationally, is a criminal. It's a crime, and we should deal with it. We dealt with it rather well with Timothy McVeigh. But why I really fear it is we have drifted into a condition that we were warned against because our early founders were very clear. They said, don't be willing to sacrifice liberty for security. Today, it seems too easy that our government and our Congresses are so willing to give up our liberties for our security. I have a personal belief that you never have to give up liberty for security. You can still provide security without sacrificing our Bill of Rights.
I want to bring others in, but do you want to respond, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah. Timothy McVeigh succeeded. That's the whole point. Timothy McVeigh killed a lot of Americans. I don't want a law that says, after we lose a major American city, we're sure going to come and find you. I want a law that says, you try to take out an American city, we're going to stop you. This is like saying that we need a policeman in every house, a camera in every house, because we want to prevent child beating and wife beating. You can prevent crimes by becoming a police state. So if you advocate the police state, yes, you can have safety and security, and you might prevent a crime, but the crime then will be against the American people and against our freedoms, and we will throw out so much of what our revolution was fought for. So don't do it so carelessly.
This profiling, who would be profiled?
Well, the folks who are most likely to be committing these crimes. If you look at it, I mean, obviously it was people. Obviously, Muslims would be someone you'd look at. Absolutely, those are the folks who are the radical Muslims, are the people that are committing these crimes, as we've by and large, as well as younger males. I mean, these are things that not exclusively, but these are things that you profile to find your best, the most likely candidate.
Congressman Paul,
that's digging a hole for ourselves. What if they look like Timothy McVeigh? You know, he was pretty tough criminal. I think we're using too much carelessness in the use of words that we're at war. I don't remember voting on a declaration of war. Oh, war against terrorism. And terrorism is a tactic. It isn't a person. It isn't a people. So this is a very careless use of words. What about this? Sacrifice liberties because they're terrorists? You're the judge and the jury? No, they're suspects. And they have changed in DOD budget, they have changed the wording on the definition of Al-Qaeda and Taliban. It's anybody associated with organizations, which means almost anybody can be loosely associated. So that makes all Americans vulnerable. And now we know that American citizens are vulnerable to assassination. So I would be very cautious about protecting the rule of law. It will be a sacrifice that you'll be sorry for.
Is it okay for Muslim Americans to get more intensive pat-downs or security when they go through airports than Christian Americans or Jewish Americans?
No, Blitz. That's oversimplifying it. I happen to believe that if you allow our intelligence agencies to do their job, they can come up with an approach. I'm sorry, Blitz. I meant Wolf, okay? Blitz, Wolf. Since we're on a Blitz debate,
I agree with Ron Paul. We are not fighting a war on terrorism. Terrorism is a tactic.
If Israel attacked Iran to prevent Tehran from getting nuclear weapons, would you help Israel launch the attack? Congressman Paul, would you support Israel and help Israel in such an attack?
No, I wouldn't do that. But there'd be good reasons, because I don't expect it to happen, because, you know, the Mossad leader that just retired said it would be the stupidest thing to do in the world. And it's a big argument over in Israel. They're not about to do this. They've just polled 40 major experts on foreign policy here by the National Journal. Now, one of them said there should be a unilateral attack on the sites in Iran. So that's not going to happen. And if it did, you're supposing that if it did, why does Israel need our help? We need to get out of their way. I mean, we interfere with them. We interfere with them when they deal with their borders, when they want to have peace treaties. We tell them what they can do because we buy their allegiance and they sacrifice their sovereignty to us. And then they decide they want to bomb something. That's their business, but they should, you know, suffer the consequences. When they bombed the Iraqi missile site, nuclear site back in the 80s, I was one of the few in Congress that said it's none of our business, and Israel should take care of themselves. Israel has 200, 300 nuclear missiles, and they can take care of themselves. Why should we commit? We don't even have a treaty with Israel. Why do we have this automatic commitment that we're going to send our kids and send our money endlessly to Israel? So I think they're quite capable of taking care of themselves. I think we do detriment. Just think of all the money we gave to Egypt over 30 or 40 years. Now look, we were buying friendship. Now there's a civil war. They're less friendly to Israel. That whole thing is going to backfire once we go bankrupt and we remove our troops. So I think we should be very cautious in our willingness to go to war and send troops without a proper declaration by the U.S. Congress.
My name is Paul Wolfowitz. I'm a visiting scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, and my question is about development assistance. Under George W. Bush, who was a conservative Republican, the United States spent billions of dollars to fight AIDS and malaria in Africa and elsewhere, and set up the Millennium Challenge Corporation to encourage governments of poor countries to pursue policies that promote economic growth and job creation. Do you believe those are still wise expenditures, or do you think that we can no longer afford them?
Ron Paul.
I think the aid is all worthless. It doesn't do any good for most of the people. You take money from poor people in this country and you end up giving it to rich people in poor countries. And they're used as weapons of war, so you accomplish nothing. We should export maybe some principles about free markets and sound money, and maybe they could produce some of their own wealth. But this whole idea of talking about the endless wars and the endless foreign aid, it seems like nobody cares about the budget. I mean, we're in big trouble, and nobody wants to cut anything. So if you're going to keep sending foreign aid overseas and these endless wars that you don't have to declare and go into Libya without even consulting with the Congress, the biggest threat to our national security is our financial condition, and this is just aggravating it.
Governor Romney.
Congressman Paul, what they're doing is cutting $1 trillion out of the defense budget. They're cutting $1 trillion out of the defense budget, which just happens to equal the $1 trillion they're putting into Obamacare. And so what you have is a president that has a priority of spending us into bankruptcy, but he's not just spending us into bankruptcy, he's spending the money foolishly. We need to protect America and protect our troops and our military and stop the idea of Obamacare. That's the best way to save money, not the military.
But hold on one second, because Ron Paul wants to respond to that point.
Well, they're not cutting anything out of anything. All this talk is just talk. Believe me. They're nibbling away at baseline budgeting. It's automatic increases. There's nothing cut against the military, and the people on the Hill are nearly hysterical because the budget isn't going up as rapidly as they wanted to. It's a road to disaster. We better wake up.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to turn it back a little closer to home and talk about what's going on in the border, our southern border. As all of you know, the drug-related crimes and violence are getting heavier and heavier in that area. First, do you consider that to be a national interest threat? And secondly, what could we be doing with the Mexican government to help stop these drug cartels?
Senator Perry, you represent the state with the longest border with Mexico right now. What do you think you should do if you were president of the United States as far as using the United States military?
Well, let me kind of broaden it out. I think it's time for a 21st century Monroe Doctrine.
Congressman Paul, you're from Texas. You agree with your governor?
Not entirely. No, the drug war was mentioned. I think that's another war we ought to cancel because it is to nobody's benefit. And that's where the violence is coming from. But yes, we do have a national responsibility for our borders. What I'm sort of tired of is all the money spent and lives lost worrying about the borders between Pakistan and Afghanistan, forgetting about our borders between the United States and Mexico. We should think more about, what we're doing at home. We need better immigration services, obviously. But, if you subsidize something or give people incentives, you get more of it. So if you give easy road to citizenship, you're going to have more illegals. If you have a weak economy, which is understandable and we should have prevented, that's understandable. But mandating to the states and to Texas that we have to provide free medical care and free education, that's a great burden. It was a great burden to California and all the border states. So I would say eliminate all these benefits and talk about eliminating the welfare state because it's detrimental not only to here but the people that come because that's the incentive to bring their families with them.
But I just wanted you to clarify, when you say cancel the war on drugs, does that mean legalize all these drugs?
I think the federal war on drugs is a total failure. You can at least let sick people have marijuana because it's helpful, but compassionate conservatives say, well, we can't do this. We're going to put people who are sick and dying with cancer, and they're being helped with marijuana if they have multiple sclerosis. The federal government's going in there and overriding state laws and putting people like that in prison. Why don't we handle the drugs like we had alcohol? Alcohol's a deadly drug. What about the real deadly drugs are the prescription drugs? They kill a lot more people than the illegal drugs. So the drug war is out of control. I fear the drug war because it undermines our civil liberties. It magnifies our problems on the borders. We spend, over the last 40 years, $1 trillion on this war. And believe me, the kids can still get the drugs. It just hasn't worked.
Herman Cain, let me let you weigh in.
Yes.
The United States adopted a policy of disengagement with Somalia after its retreat following Black Hawk Down. Today, an al-Qaeda affiliate, al-Shabaab, controls significant territory in that country. What can the United States do to prevent al-Shabaab from posing the same threat that al-Qaeda did from Afghanistan 10 years ago?
Congressman Paul?
You're talking about al-Qaeda, correct? You have to understand who the al-Qaeda really is. The al-Qaeda responds in a very deliberate fashion. Matter of fact, Paul Wolfowitz explained it very clearly after 9/11. He said that al-Qaeda is inspired by the fact that we had bases in Saudi Arabia. So if you want to inspire al-Qaeda, just meddle in that region. That will inspire the Al-Qaeda. Matter of fact, he went on to say that that was a good reason for us to remove the base that we had had in 15 years in Saudi Arabia, and that we shouldn't have done that. So there is a response. Al-Qaeda responds to that, and they are quite annoyed with it. So if you have a no-fly zone over Syria, that's an act of war. What if we had China put a no-fly zone over our territory? I don't think we would like that. And I think we should practice a policy of goodwill to other people. What about saying that we don't do anything to any other country that we don't have them do to us? When we had a no-fly zone over Iraq, it was meant to be regime change. And evidently, someone to have regime change. But what is our business? Why should we spend more money and more lives to get involved in another war? That is the internal affairs of the other nations, and we don't need another nation to start nation building. We have way too many already. So this is just looking for more trouble. I would say, why don't we mind our own business?
Congressman.
I worry most about overreaction on our part, getting involved in another war when we don't need to, when we haven't been attacked, and our national security has not been at threat. And I worry a lot about people never come around to understanding who the Taliban is and why they are motivated. Taliban doesn't mean they want to come here and kill us. The Taliban means they want to kill us over there because all they want to do is get people who occupy their country out of their country, just like we would if anybody tried to occupy us.
Governor Perry.
All right, very good. A lot of wise information from Ron Paul, and you know what he says makes a lot of sense. At least it does to me. I know that there's a lot of others out there that it makes sense to. Why should we be fighting all of these wars? There's no reason for that, especially if there isn't a declaration. We've gotten so far from the founding principles of this country that most people just, it seems, are clueless to what the founding fathers put in place. You know, now there's this whole desire to want to give up liberty for security. Now that's absolutely ludicrous, because all that does is promote a police state. And we know what happens when there's a police state. Police, unfortunately, are apparently weak-minded individuals who are susceptible to corruption very, very easily. They get a gun, they get a badge, and they think they have power, and they go out there and they abuse their power. Case in point, here's a story. It's up at InfoWars. Disabled man tasered to death for falling off bike. This was from Steve Watson. It says a 61-year-old man from Halifax County, Virginia, was tasered by cops and died Tuesday after they were called to the scene by an onlooker who said the man fell off his bike in a parking lot and feared he was drunk. When the police arrived, Roger Anthony was riding on the bike. Anthony did not respond to the officer's request for him to stop, so Officer Turner used a stun gun on him, causing Anthony to once again fall off his bike. Family members told the press that when Anthony arrived at the local hospital shortly afterwards, he was declared brain dead. Scotland Neck Police Chief Joe Williams told the media that the officer had seen Anthony take something out of his pocket, put it into his mouth, and therefore had taken the decision to tase the man. Anthony's sister Gladys Friedman told Rawl that the brother was disabled, hard of hearing, and suffered from seizures. Anthony's brother-in-law Milton Friedman told reporters, "Why would they use a stun gun on a man on a bike? He didn't do any crime. He wasn't trying to escape. How was he going to escape on his bicycle?" So you can imagine the police had refused to comment further. Now, imagine if this was one of your relatives. The man is, has a problem with his hearing. He's mentally disabled. And the police decide that this man is a threat, and so they shoot him with a taser. That is so wrong. These police officers should not be allowed back on the streets ever, ever again. All weapons should be taken away from them, and they should be treated as a criminal. Because that officer made a decision to take another man's life because he was afraid because that man put something in his mouth. That's what happens when you get the police state. You get police officers who are really just very fearful people that have a gun and a badge so that they can stand up against people and be tough. It's not right. Now there's another story going on that a 52-year-old TSA agent raped a woman. You heard me. Raped a woman. a TSA agent, used his badge, was wearing his uniform, because now they have these new Viper teams. They're not just at the airports anymore. Now they have these Viper teams going around the streets. They have checkpoints. If you're lucky enough to live in one of these cities, well, you might just get pulled over and get felt up before you continue on your journey. This is not right. It's not right that that man is out there as part of an organization that is doing these kind of activities, because it happens far too often. These criminals gravitate to police force, they gravitate to TSA, they gravitate to agencies where they seem to have some sort of power, which they don't really have. I don't know what's wrong with the state of the police force these days. At one point, there was a good reputation. They were peace officers. Now all they seem to be are terrorists. And the ones who are the good guys seem to be afraid to speak up. Well, when are they going to get past that fear? If you're a police officer out there, stand up and be brave. This might be your time to show your bravery by actually standing up for the American people. Because if you don't, then we're just going to lump you in as another bad police officer and consider that you're just part of a large gang that is out against the people. That's not true. I know that's not true, and many others do know that's not true, but you're allowing the bad apples in your organizations to make you look bad. So for the sake of you and your friends and your family who don't want to think that you're a bad guy because you're a part of the police force, do something right. Get the bad apples out so that the people of this country and the people around the world can trust you again. Because otherwise you're just going to lose your trust with the people. And when you lose your trust, well, you're just going to become more fearful of people, because that's what goes with a lack of trust. More fear, more doubts, and usually unwarranted. How many more stories are you going to have to hear of disabled people being shot off their bikes with a taser? How many other stories are we going to have to hear of vets home getting shot with canisters or rubber bullets? How many stories are we going to have to hear of police brutality? It needs to stop. It's out of control. It's not right. Now, we're going to switch to something which, well, the only thing I could say is humorous. Because today, as you know, is Black Friday here in America. And if you're not living in this country, if you're somewhere else around the world, this is your opportunity to see how really stupid Americans can be. Okay? Earthlings in general are just nuts. I don't understand Earthlings. It's not like this back in my home world, but then again, this is part of the earthly process, being around all of this wackiness that's here. So I want you to watch these. These are funny. These are people. Keep in mind, these are folks going out there with the holiday spirit to buy gifts for their friends and their family. So notice the way in which they go about this, and I'm sure you're going to find it humorous as I did. Look at these crowd of people. Look at them. How'd you like to be in that crowd today, huh? All right, there's one. All right, now we're going to move around here. This one here says over $2 waffle makers. Watch this one. Look at that, all that holiday cheer and excitement, the love going into purchasing those gifts. Can you imagine? That's just nuts. Look at this. Look at that. This woman can't even pull her pants up. She's so excited about what's going on. Look at that. All right. Holiday shopping. Isn't it fun? Look at that. And moving right along, just to show that Americans are really crazy, here we got one woman pepper sprayed another. Said a woman shot pepper spray to keep shoppers from merchandise she wanted during a Black Friday sale, and 20 people suffered minor injuries, authorities said. The incident occurred shortly after 10:20 p.m. on Thursday in a crowded Los Angeles area Walmart, as shoppers hungry for deals were led inside the store. The police said the suspect shot pepper spray when the coverings over the items she wanted were removed. Somehow she was trying to use it to gain an upper hand, Police Lieutenant Abel Parga told the Associated Press early Friday. He said she was apparently after some electronics and used the pepper spray to keep other shoppers at bay. Wow, how about that, huh? The love going into that holiday shopping right there. What would this woman tell her friends when she was, I got this gift for you, and boy, there was a lot of people, but I got it. I pepper sprayed the person who came at it for you, and I got it first. All right, we got one more here. Here's 2 women injured and a man charged in a fight in upstate Walmart. This is from Rome, New York. Police say 2 women have been injured and a man has been charged after a fight broke out in an upstate New York Walmart store that has just led Black Friday shoppers into its electronic department. The Oneida County Sheriff's Office tells Post-Standard of Syracuse several fights erupted around 12:01 a.m. Friday near a cell phone display in the electronics department at the Walmart in Rome, 35 miles east of Syracuse. Officials tell the newspaper that some shoppers were pushed on the floor and several fights broke out. Deputies say 2 women from Rome suffered back injuries in the melee. Police say a Rome man has been charged with disorderly conduct. Deputies say charges are pending against other people. Wow. And they all seem to be at Walmarts. You notice that? We've heard a lot about Walmarts and, what they're doing and how Walmarts have become somewhat more militarized. Remember the reports that we've done, and you can find them online, about people seeing these guard towers in the Walmart parking lots? Or earlier this year, or was it last year, when Homeland Security joined in connection with Walmart, and now we have the Snoop program. If you see something wrong, report it. And what else? Then you had the government, Mrs. Obama. She is now working with the food and a program of nutrition, and they're doing this in connection with Walmart. So you've got a lot of government influence there, and what did you see? Chaos. That is a microcosm of what goes on when the government gets involved with a situation. That was absolutely chaotic, and that is how silly not only Earthlings are, but how silly Americans are, that they run for little things like that. Hopefully, you're not going to be out there running around in that kind of a mess. Hopefully, listening to shows like this and searching the web for information about what's going on has taught you that material objects like that really are not worth going into that sort of a situation. It's no need to be part of the sheeple. There's plenty of sheeple out there. For those of you who don't know what sheeple are, it's a combination of the word sheep and people. Sheeple. There's a lot of them. They just sort of follow along blindly with whatever they're told or wherever others are leading. Like you saw in the one, they heard the beeping. What's that? Oh, it's an Xbox. Okay. So, now from the holiday humor of the wonderful shopping season, let us jump over to our meditation to close us out for the day and for the week. So let's go ahead and close your eyes. Relax. All right, for this meditation here, let us imagine that we are all seated on the ground, and we're just all taking a moment to look around at each other. And as we sit around and we look at each other, and we see the faces on everybody, we realize that there are a lot of similarities in the way that we look. We notice the similarities in the way others behave. And we realize that no matter what color of people, red, white, black, yellow, brown, or any other color, we realize that there are similarities. Similarities amongst the races, similarities between the races, similarities just because everyone is part of the same human race. And as you notice the similarities, you start to also notice the differences. And between the two, you realize that there's more similarities than there are differences. And the main similarity is that everybody is filled with the Spirit. Everybody has the opportunity to grow in a much spiritual way. Everybody has the opportunity to evolve. And the biggest differences are in what people know because of what they are told. And we realize that if we simply focus in on the similarities of our connection with Spirit, if we simply focus on these, we find that life moves along very smoothly because we connect in with a source that allows us to see truthfully, to see past the lies, to see past the doubts, to rise above the fears. And as we see past the doubts and the lies and the fears, we connect with that strength that resides in each one of us. It's the inner strength given to us from the great Creator. And every time we sit and focus like this, even for a few moments, we are working with the energy in the way the great Creator would have us work with the energy, to understand the energy. And in that regard, let us go through the chakra system, the energy systems of the body. These correlate to the 7 seals of the book of Revelation. And by opening these energetic centers of the body, we allow ourselves to connect in with the divine spirit of the universe that is available for all of us. So the first chakra is at the bottom of the spine. The color is red. Just imagine the color red. And imagine the energy from the earth just filling that lower chakra. The lower chakra is the one that grounds your energy. It's the closest one to the earthly energy. And then as you rise that energy up from that lower chakra at the bottom of your spine, let the energy raise up about to the belly button level. And imagine the color orange. And this chakra is the chakra that deals with your emotional body. And then let the energies raise up higher to the chakra. It's just below your rib cage. And imagine the color yellow. And this chakra here deals with your intellectual body. And let the energy raise up higher, right to the middle of your chest, right where the heart is. And imagine the color green. And this chakra deals with the issues of love, heart issues. And then raise the energy up higher to the throat. The throat, the chakra color is blue, and this is the chakra that deals with our communication. And then let the energy raise up higher right between the 2 eyebrows, and imagine the color violet. And the third eye is the chakra that allows us to see through dimensions of space and time. And from there, let the energy raise up higher to the chakra above it, which is at the top of your head. It's called the crown chakra. And imagine the color indigo. And then the light continues up into the cosmos. And there you are connected. From the earth to the sky. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and indigo. All of the 7 chakras activated. All of the 7 seals opened. And let's just imagine from the heart chakra, we send love around the world. We send love around the world to each and every human being. to each and every earthling, to each and every creature. Just send out this love and know that that is enough, for love is the greatest source in the universe, my friends. And now, think a good thought for the world. And with that, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment. And we'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, come back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. And there you have it. Once again, that is our show, our prayer, our meditation, and that's our week. So I hope that, I wish you all a great weekend. Just be safe out there. Pay attention. I know there's going to be the craziness of all this shopping that's going on. But don't be like the sheeple, running around there needlessly for things that don't really matter. Be calm. This is supposed to be a time, if you're buying gifts for others, the whole idea is you're doing so in a good spirit so that when you pass that gift on, you know, you're sharing a good vibe. But if you're going to a store and you're trampling on others to get something that you're going to give to somebody else because you think by giving them that object they're going to have some sort of love or good feeling for you, don't get everything confused. Just be smart out there. A lot of craziness in the world as always, but just keep paying attention. Surf the internet. Check out the real news that's going on. Don't rely on the mainstream because they're not going to let you know. Those are my final words for today. Go out, be safe, have fun. Much love and light to each and every one of you. Peace. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend.